Welcome to Disability News and Views, a production of the City of Boston's Disabilities Commission. It's December, the month with the least amount of days of sunlight. And as we know, the sun goes down early on these days, and for a lot of us, darker days can be tough. So in today's episode, you're going to learn a little bit about the City of Boston's Equity and Inclusion Cabinet, and you will also learn during our community conversation with Ken a little bit about Casandra Xavier, who will talk about her experience as a resident and give you guys some tips about what you can do this December to beat the dark days of December. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Ken Meyer. Ken, take it away.
Thank you, Colleen. Casandra, it's nice to talk to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you wound up getting into Boston.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on. This is actually really cool to be with everyone here today. I got into Boston, I moved from Brighton to the north end of Boston. I've been living in the north end for about 3 years now, and it is absolutely a nice change. Access to the waterfront, real easy, like a 3-minute walk from my apartment to the waterfront, and walking along the harbor all year round. It is amazing. It's the best thing anyone can experience. So during my mobility lessons, I learned how to get access to walking around the harbor, and I learned what was once the most confusing part of Boston, which is downtown and the north end. And now I'm no longer confused about how to get around there anymore because everything's familiar to me now, especially as someone who has both hearing and vision loss. I learned how to adapt and familiarize myself with a lot of the important locations and fun spots as well.
Okay. Tell us how people with assistive technology can be more connected.
Well, folks with assistive technology can definitely stay connected to the world around them with being connected with communities of folks who use the technology, other blind or visually impaired or different sorts of disabilities would stay connected through email listservs and, social media and that sort of stuff. For me, I find myself using this app called PixieBot. It describes photos for those who are blind or visually impaired. And so if you like to take lots of pictures of the harbor, you can have it described to you with PixieBot, and you can save the description for the alt text in images online when you're sending emails or posting to social media. Many other tools in the toolbox.
Okay. Now, what do you do finding light during the dark days of December?
Well, finding light in the dark days of December for me would involve going to community spaces to socialize and, meeting with friends here and there in the city, or once again, going for nice walks, going to the gym, and these sort of things definitely help finding light in the dark days of December.
Okay. Where are some of your favorite places to visit in Boston?
I like to go to the aquarium off of, near the waterfront. And I'll go with a friend and, they'll describe things to me, or I'll use an app called Be My Eyes or Ally, which is all free to, anyone that wants to use it. And I'll go to Faneuil Hall and check out all the stores and stuff, like Rustic Marlin. I'm into the New England charm decor and the nautical design and stuff like that. And they have these pretty nice big anchors in their store made from wood, and it's very tactile. I like to touch those and, add that to my list of things to buy from when I go back again.
Okay. Why would you recommend people with disabilities visit in Boston?
I would recommend that anyone with a disability can visit the Boston Common during the day and the Museum of Fine Arts, and the Science Museum, as well as the aquarium. Sometimes I would say, if it's still happening, get on a harbor cruise, and it'll be a narrated cruise. It might be a little chilly, but it's still a pretty cool experience to get a historical rundown of the city.
Okay. If people are interested in participating in the community events, what do they do about it?
They could contact the city hall and find out about the community events, or no, the city hall is where it's a go-to spot.
So that's just to tell everybody that they should call the disability office, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, listen, I wish you all the luck in what you're doing, and you're a great asset to the commission and also to the city of Boston. And I
Thank you.
have a good Christmas.
Yes, thank you. And you too.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll turn it over to Commissioner McCosh to see what exciting guest she has to talk to.
All right, thank you, Ken. Welcome everybody to the City of Boston Department section of our program this month. I'd like to introduce our guest, Chief Mariangely Solis Cervera, who is the Cabinet Chief of Equity and Inclusion. So Chief, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Commissioner. I go by Mariangely Solis Cervera. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Chief of Equity and Inclusion for the City of Boston.
And can you tell us, the cabinet is newer under Mayor Michelle Wu. She established this cabinet. Can you tell us a little bit about what the cabinet's values and mission is to improve the lives of Bostonians?
Yeah, the journey of this cabinet is quite interesting. If it's okay, I'll share a little bit of how we got here. Back in 2020, under Mayor Walsh, there was an executive order ensuring that as a city, we centered racial equity in our framework. After some time, when Mayor Wu was elected into this administration and appointed me, I had many conversations with her and external stakeholders and internal staff to answer the question of what does the work of equity and inclusion look like in the city of Boston. And one of the first things that we did was, I say absorb, but that's not the right language, but transition the Disabilities Commission away from Health and Human Services and into the Equity and Inclusion Cabinet, and add the Fair Housing and Equity department, and start the Office of LGBTQ Advancement, as well as the Black Male Advancement Office, and merge them with other departments that have already been in existence for many, many years, such as the Office of Immigrant Advancement, Women's Advancement. And at the core, our mission is about improving life outcomes for historically excluded communities, some of which I've already mentioned. And we do so by being as strategic as possible, because we have a massive organization that we want to help influence and we want to help change. And so we partner with different agencies throughout the city of Boston to offer technical assistance to ensure that they are changing their own programs and practices. And the Disabilities Commission is one of our superstars in that for years they've been doing, you all have been doing incredible work with not only the operations cabinet, but also streets, and working directly with architects and engineers to ensuring that we are not only being compliant with the law, also ensuring that we're engaging in a culture shift, right? Where we are not questioning why we're doing things. Instead, we understand that by starting with an accessibility lens, we can build better and we can design better. Another part of the strategy that we have besides technical assistance is to do coalition building. We understand history has taught us that for many years, our different communities, because they're not a monolith, they're so diverse, they don't always see eye to eye and oftentimes don't work together. And so part of our work as a cabinet is to engage with those external community members and have them work together to push back essentially against the city and promote change. That's why we have things such as commissions, advisory groups, task forces, etc. So that we're working in directly with the different community members. And last but not least is direct service providing. We understand that our different populations have very unique needs sometimes beyond housing, which the Mayor's Office of Housing is a great partner and works with us to ensure that we are delivering better services to community members. But we also understand that there are very specific needs of our community. And so things like language access is something that we have trained all departments to ensure that they can provide translation interpretation services so that people who speak other languages can still benefit from the different services and resources as residents in the city. And so in short, it's about improving life outcomes, and we find creative ways of doing it. And our values are focused on being results driven. This work of DEI can be very exhausting and could also be very such a long-term game work that can sometimes feel like we're doing so much work and not getting as much of a reward. And so in our cabinet, we're moving in a way where we are being more results driven, more focused, and more able to communicate the wins that we are having as a cabinet so that residents understand why our work is essential. And also, as a larger political system, more people see the value of the incredible work of our different offices. Our second core value is about being intentional. I think many staff members in our cabinet in particular understand that for many years, residents have been told to wait their turn, to just sit and wait or accept mistakes or just let things go. And while we are not perfect, and we are very far from perfect, and I'm not seeking perfection, we do our best to be as intentional as possible so that we are being mindful of residents' quality of life throughout the process. And so we are intentional with our communications. We are intentional with our programming. And last but not least is about accessibility. Not only about being available to residents, which is sort of a given, it is about the work, particularly that the office, the Commission on Disabilities does, which is ensuring that our work is accessible to as many residents as possible, with the goal of everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that summary. That was amazing. You just summed up all our work. So one thing that the disability community always says is nothing about us without us. That's the rallying cry from the disability rights movement in the 70s. And we still go by that mantra today. And another saying I like to tell the community is from the civil rights movement in the 60s was keep your eyes on the prize. Because like you said, a lot of times it's the long game. If a resident reports that a curb ramp is broken or out of compliance, it might take us 2 years to fix it because we have to put it out to bid with public money, redesign it and get it fixed. But the important thing is I really want the community to know that we are paying attention to these things. And even if it does take a little longer, the processes are still in place. So I was wondering if you could talk about your values and goals aligned with Mayor Wu's for the things that you want to see the city become. I know we want to make it a city for all, but things like economic prosperity, green and growing. Can you talk about a few of the mayor's goals, which we work towards every day?
Yeah. Keep your eyes on the prize. I appreciate you sharing that. I think, and you've named sort of the the main motto, if you will, right, which is our focus on building a city that can be a home for everyone. I often engage in a lot of conversations about this, and there's a sense that, like, well, isn't that obvious, or isn't that a little too simplistic? And yes, it's meant to be simple, right? So that we can use it in our day-to-day communications with other people. Um, it's also quite profound because it does several things. One, it recognizes the fact that it has not been a home for everyone. And that is such an essential part of the work that we are doing here, not only as an administration, but as a cabinet, is the recognition that this has not been a home for people. And even though people live here, they have not felt, right? Or they have not experienced a safe environment, an environment filled with opportunities as well. And so I start with that because that's sort of the North Star, right? This ongoing questioning and this ongoing thinking of how do we better design for that. As for sort of the mayor's priorities, as you've named, right? It's around green and growing, the idea that we are a major city in the United States of America, and we plan to continue to be one of the major cities in the US, and our planet deserves better. And so how do we continue to grow while also growing sustainably, and through a climate justice lens? And so that for us is something that, as our cabinet, we want to do a better job of communicating outside and engaging more of the residents. But it's something that we feel really strongly about as administration, in particular because it creates job opportunities. And so this sense of like wealth building and economic stability and housing opportunities, it's all centered on whether or not somebody can have financial stability, and those jobs are great opportunities for us to look into that.
Yeah, the things you mentioned are so important. And like you said, for years, certain communities have been left out of this picture of like making a home in Boston. And we know that, disability isn't always included in DEI conversations. So when you first were appointed and you called me and said, how would you feel about joining me? I was really excited because you just elevated disability to be part of this conversation. And that really gives us a way in to improve things in Boston, because now we can have other departments look through an accessibility lens as well as other DEI components. And these are things like when you talk about housing is one of the biggest issues for people. So we know that disability is intersectional. So if you take a marginalized community like people who live in underserved neighborhoods like Mattapan, and then you add a disability on top of it, the challenges just mount. So it's important that we keep doing this work and just, raise these issues to the mayor in the administration, who I have to say has been a very cooperative partner. So on that note, some of the things that we do to give back to the community, I know we have a big event coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would love that. So this is our third year partnering with multiple agencies, multiple departments, and external community organizations to host an event called Boston Gives Back, which is an opportunity for families to have a safe and just celebratory space to spend a day during the holidays with their young people, with their elders at home, to receive direct resources from the city, to receive gifts for the holidays as well. And we help them wrap, and we make sure that they leave here with gifts and also food. This year we're partnering with Goya Foods, and we'll be able to ensure that every family leaves with a bag filled with culturally relevant food as well. And it's on it's December 21st. So we're definitely looking for volunteers, and if you are interested in that, we'd love for you to give us a call at 311 and ask how you can volunteer for Boston Gives Back as an opportunity. Just be in community at the bowling building. I will also say that there's a couple of other ways in which we are elevating the work of equity and inclusion, which are focused on Two things in particular. One is the E&I Academy, which is a space for staff members throughout the organization to come and learn about the different communities that we serve, learn about the policies, the laws that need to be followed, and to also learn how to do things differently so that we can get to that place of home for everyone. And we know that Disabilities Commission has done incredible work with that curriculum as well. Another way that we're partnering with other departments in this technical assistance piece is something called the E&I Managers Network. We understand that there's a lot of really good work happening in other, when I say agencies, I mean like the police department, the fire department, and other places. And so we have brought experts in the field of DEI that already work in those agencies into a network so that they're sharing best practices with one another, and they're communicating projects and initiatives with each other, and also having a direct line to us. It's recently launched, but we are going to grow it even better so that there's a direct line of communication and work with those other agencies that touch so many of our residents, and all of that, no matter what the mayor's priorities, no matter which priority we're talking about, whether it's green and growing, family friendly, etc., we get to touch everything, which is such an essential part of the work that we do here.
Right. And like you said, historically people have been left out of the conversation, and it's so important to give people a voice at the table because we then learn about what they need. Like some neighborhoods in Boston are like heat islands. So now we know we can like plant more trees in these places. And again, you go back to the underserved neighborhoods, where you find, people of color, people with disabilities, and they haven't had that seat at the table. So that's why I'm so glad that you're here to be their voice. And I really appreciate my role to elevate the issues that they tell us about. So one thing that's been kind of a theme recently in political circles is the word joy. I know that, joy, it's the holiday season. Joy is a great thing, but it's also hard at this time when people are struggling economically and things like that. So I know the mayor has some events coming up in December. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Joy. I absolutely would love to talk about that. And first, I think the holidays. So I used to be an educator and an ESL teacher, and the holidays were always a very difficult time, right? Because everyone's excited to go on vacation, and there were always young people who were a little bit anxious to go back home and just stay for 2 weeks at home, not some not knowing if they were going to have enough food at the table or if parents were going to be available because they had jobs, etc. And so this is something that I still hold on to now, and as an administration we want to make sure that we communicate that to the public, because we understand that this could be a beautiful time and it could also be a challenging time for people, for many reasons. We can spend a whole session talking about that. But we are also bringing joy to the communities as much as possible, right? So the Boston Gives Back example that I gave is a wonderful place for that. There are also the trolley tours that start on the weekend of December 8th, which is essentially a bus tour throughout the entire city where we bring Santa and all these reindeer and all these wonderful opportunities for young people and adults alike to enjoy. And we are also going to be bringing food during those, no questions asked. Food will be available if you want. You can take a bag with you. Again, no questions asked. And then there's many opportunities outside for you to see tree lightings, etc. And I know you can find out more information on boston.gov as well. Both for the trolley tour stops and the times, as well as the tree lightings.
Great. So I've been in my role here for 14 years, and I do just want to step back a little bit to one of the things you mentioned earlier, and that's language access. I think that's just such a critical piece of the picture that the mayor has really emphasized, first starting with the ordinance and then now making it a cabinet. And it's really like the city mandate that we translate things. So it's so important that people can get this information in their own languages. And we see that with disabilities and like the commitment to ASL, American Sign Language, at the mayor's press conferences. So in my 14 years being on the job, I've seen a lot of changes. And again, I think when we moved into the DEI cabinet, it just elevated our work that much more. So I really want to thank you for inviting me to your cabinet and and including me in all the wonderful work that we do. And I think we are really making strides in improving the city, not just for people with disabilities, but for underserved people and people who are doing just fine as well. So is there anything final you'd like to add to wrap up our conversation?
Thank you, Kristen. Everyone should know that I'm a big fan of Commissioner McCosh and the incredible team at the commission. I'm, for many reasons, not because you're incredibly intelligent human beings, also because you are one of the most empathetic and strategic people that I have ever worked with. And to engage in the level of systemic changes that you all engage in requires an incredible team culture. And so it speaks to your commitment to the work, and so I'm a fangirl. But yeah, no, I just want to make sure that people understand that throughout the holidays, you can access us through not only Boston.gov website, but also through the 311 app or phone number, and everything's available in multiple languages, as we've discussed. And I think that I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't share a little bit of sort of what this moment means to me in this larger context. We're entering a season where there is a lot of anxiety in our community, and to everyone who is listening, know that we are not going to stop focusing on ensuring that our residents get to live in Boston and get to thrive in Boston. And so my hope for you is that in the next couple of weeks, you take some time to yourself and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. But we got this.
Yeah, I will add to that so everyone who's watching or listening will know our work will go on uninterrupted. We don't foresee any changes in the city of Boston. We're still committed to making Boston a home for everyone and the best city in the country. So thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate all your support. We wouldn't be where we are without the Chief's support. And to our viewers, please sign up for our newsletter. We do a weekly email newsletter, and you can learn more at disability@boston.gov. Thank you, everyone.
And that concludes the December episode of Disability News and Views. Thank you for watching, and we hope you can find some light during these dark days of December. Happy holidays, everyone.